Star verdict. Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister walk down the aisle at my wedding? Throwaway, because family members have read it. I, 29 female, am getting married to the love of my life, 30 male, in a few months. We were high school lovers and childhood friends. He's truly my best friend and everything I want in life. However, we both decided to wait until we were well off to be married so we could have our once-in-a-lifetime magical moment. My sister, Stacy, 21 female, got married at 19 to someone who I like, but I'm not super close with. They were together for 5 months before he proposed. Their wedding was rushed, and half our family couldn't even make it because of how soon it was planned and set up. It was small and just in a courtroom. No dress, party, etc. Just a legal wedding. However, my wedding is around $19,000, and we haven't even finished everything. It took us ages to set everything up and save. Stacy recently came up to me while coming over. We're close, and have dinner once a week at my place, and asked if she could walk down my aisle and meet her husband so she could feel like a bride. I laughed and asked if she was serious, and she was. She claimed she never got her magic moment and she just wants to feel special once. But it's my wedding and my special day. She had hers. Stacy claims it will only be between us and it won't take away from me. Then I asked what she might wear, and she showed me pictures on her phone of wedding dresses. Hard no for me. She then asked again in front of my fiancé, and I think it was an attempt to pressure me. He laughed and said no, thinking it was a joke, like I did the first time. My mother and Stacy's husband say I'm being an a-hole because Stacy still isn't rich, so she can't afford another wedding, even if she wanted one. But neither are me and my future husband. We just planned for years. I just wanted one day for myself, but maybe I'm blowing it up because she never got the bridal experience. Top comments. Not the a-hole. There is no conceivable universe where her walking down the aisle on your wedding day at the location of your wedding wearing a wedding dress will be just between the two of you and not detract from your day. It's rude of her to even ask. Edit to add, if she wants a special moment, she is free to plan her own vow renewal event, where she wears a wedding dress and has all her family, etc. If she was just going to wear a nice dress and walk before me and stand beside me and her husband, I'd probably have no problem with it, or at least let her do it. But I feel like she's just trying to use my wedding as a free event for her. That would be nice of you, but given how much work planning and orchestrating a wedding is, and how much money, it should really be about you. That's what my fiance keeps reminding me of, but I just feel guilty since I've always been able to afford more than my sister. Job at 16, saving money, etc. Meanwhile, she only worked after college, which was fully paid for by our parents, while I had to get by on scholarships. So I guess I just want to help her out since she really couldn't afford a big wedding. Stop right there. Your parents paid for her college and you had to figure it out yourself? Sorry, OP. Your parents have a clear favorite, and it's not you. Doesn't sound like you've had a lot be about you in your whole life. And your wedding is the one day it should absolutely be all about you. Don't feel guilty. None of this is your responsibility. She is free to have her own separate wedding if she wants a redo. It shouldn't be at your expense. When I was in college, my parents weren't well off, but when my sister was, my grandmother had passed and left a large sum of money to my parents and sister. My grandpa's the one who helped pay for my college when I desperately needed food or books. So your sister has always had more, just given to her without working for it. You had to work for everything you have, and now she's demanding what's yours too? Not the a-hole. If you said yes, you'd just be making her more entitled. She sounds plenty entitled. I can't believe your mother wants you to share your wedding, which you paid for, when your sister already got an education for free when you paid for yours. She's making it clear she values her more. Obviously, the OP is going to want their wedding day to be a special and unique experience, especially after planning and saving for years to create the wedding of their dreams, which is a significant investment of time and effort. the OP's wedding day should be a reflection of their own desires and preferences. While it's unfortunate that the OP's sister didn't have the wedding she envisioned, it's not fair for her to expect to recreate her bridal experience at OP's wedding. The idea of her wearing a wedding dress and potentially overshadowing the OP's special day is ridiculous and beyond entitled. It's essential for the OP to set very clear boundaries so that their sister does not get the impression that this type of behavior is okay or acceptable. The OP should communicate their feelings honestly to their sister, emphasizing that they've been looking forward to this moment for a long time. There may be other ways for the sister to feel included and cherished without taking over their wedding day. That would be up to the OP to decide if that's something they want to include. The sister could have also chosen to celebrate her marriage in a separate event where she can have the experience she wants. Ultimately, it's essential for the OP to prioritize their own happiness and ensure that their wedding day remains a meaningful and memorable occasion for them and their partner. Am I the a-hole for screaming at my husband and his sister to get out of my kitchen? My husband's sister, 38, lives with us and our kids. I'm well beyond fed up with her being here because of food issues. That's the only reason. So basically, every single time I make food, his sister will come in and doctor up the food I'm making to her liking. Like, I made steak and shrimp the other day, like Applebee's, and she waited until I left the room to put a full stick of butter in my shrimp. That was already done. And when I came back in, she goes, "I'm pretty sure that's the taste you were looking for," and completely ruined it. It was trash. Or whenever I make spaghetti, she will start dumping sugar into the sauce, to a point of sweet spaghetti that me and my kids outright refuse to touch because it's nasty. Every single time that she can get away with it, she's doing something to the food. Anyways, my husband has started doing the same thing. I went to make homemade mac last night and cheeseburgers. I went to the basement to the chest freezer to grab the veggies I needed. When I came back upstairs, my husband was putting canned chicken into the mac and cheese. He knows the kids absolutely hate the taste of that. And his sister was pushing blocks of blue cheese into the partially cooked burgers. I asked what the heck they were doing because I've told them so many times to stop messing with the food. Neither of them had any good excuse other than, "We were just helping." I flipped out and told them to get the heck out of my kitchen. Both of them told me I was overreacting, etc., etc. The thing is, I've openly asked my sister-in-law to cook several times and she won't. But she won't stop messing with the food I'm making. My husband cooks often, and I don't care if he screws with food he makes, but it royally pisses me off when my cooking is messed with, and he knows that. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Especially considering they're just making your job harder by making your food inedible for your kids. Your sister-in-law has overstayed her welcome. Work out a policing program with your kids and make it fun. Make homemade sheriff badges and get them an air horn. Teach them what you're doing so they learn how to cook, and if they want to be inventive, they can add stuff with your guidance. Every time you have to leave the kitchen, they are on guard and get to blow the air horn if your husband or his sister come into it, even for a drink. They have lost their kitchen privileges while you're cooking because they have no integrity or respect for your work. Teach your kids those words too. If the food gets tampered with, you and the kids will go out for food. Your husband and his sister get to eat whatever they messed with. I know the budget may be tight for this, but I think if you did this calmly for at least 3 times, the message will get across. Between Chipotle and some other of the healthier fast food options, it shouldn't be too bad for the kids. If your husband complains about the waste, it was his choice to be passive-aggressive and not respect what you know your kids like, and make it inedible in the first place. If you have a good relationship with your in-laws, maybe you can get them on board. Even better, maybe you go on vacation, just you and the kids, and let the siblings figure it out on their own. Edit. Thanks for the replies, both positive and negative. Some of the negative had thoughtful feedback, which I appreciate. The ones that just whined, you know who you are. This is the most replied to comment I've ever had. Clarifications. I do not know the age of the kids, but I'm imagining them at 9 and 11. Regardless, I think they should be asked if they want to please, to stand up for boundaries, because it's their food and their father, which is the most egregious part. If they don't, then mom can leave the minute the food is messed with. They can choose to learn to stand up for themselves or support their mom on handling it in a calm way. Mom fills them in on the leaving for dinner elsewhere plan, and they help keep watch. For those stating using kids as pawns, I'm surprised how many do not see that the father is the one already making them pawns. Regardless of his reason, whether petty joking or his own passive-aggressive way to say he doesn't like his wife's cooking, he's force-feeding his children things they don't like. If his kids learn not to trust him around basic things like food, he's setting up a lifetime of a broken relationship. Kicking the sister-in-law will not solve this, even though she instigated it. The goal is to confront the situation with calm and fun reinforcement, so hopefully the sister-in-law and dad can reset and realize how awful they are being. There were 5 divorces between my 2 parents before I finished college, and no one ever confronted anything in a way to reset and allow the love back in. After my dad's last divorce and I needed to start doing more of the holiday cooking, I just laid down the new law that my mom and her parents had to welcome my dad so we could all celebrate together. I didn't have the time or money to have 2 Christmases. After some grumbling, it worked. They could find commonalities to have fun around again. If sister-in-law leaves and this isn't resolved, I see a future of estrangement. If dad can't pull his head out of his butt, and this type of behavior keeps going, he may lose his wife and kids. A marriage death by 1,000 cuts. Food thoughts. I worked in fine dining restaurants and love blue cheese on my burger, butter on my shrimp, but sneaking it in is completely disrespectful. I cannot imagine the butter it was swimming in after it had already been cooked/buttered. The 2 cups of sugar in the spaghetti sauce is absolutely disgusting. It reminds me of my friend's family, who are all over 300 pounds and very proud of their assortment of Bisquick-type foods and sugary meatballs they make when they entertain. Most of it is so sweet and bland I can't stand it. And my jerkiness. To another friend I said, if I'm going to be 300 pounds, I'll be eating imported cheeses, fancy meats, and things full of flavor. Not this Bisquick BS. I wish OP the best and hope for an update. Ooh, yes, get the kids on kitchen patrol ASAP, especially the air horn. You're my kind of people. Please take this award. If hubs and sister-in-law mess with the food, OP and kids drop everything, leave the food in the kitchen, and walk out. No discussion. Not the a-hole. It sounds like a challenging situation to deal with. It's understandable that the OP's frustrated and upset about their sister-in-law and husband constantly altering the food they prepare. Cooking is a personal and creative process, and having someone constantly interfere with it can be annoying and discouraging. OP has every right to feel upset and express their concerns about how the husband and the sister-in-law's actions are affecting them in their cooking. The OP should let them know that they would prefer they respect the OP's cooking process and not make any changes without their consent. It might be helpful for OP to establish clear boundaries and communicate their expectations regarding the kitchen and food preparation. But if the sister-in-law refuses to help out by cooking and continues to insist on undermining the OP's cooking, more problems regarding boundaries may arise in the future. Finding a compromise or alternative solutions, such as designated nights for each family member to prepare meals, could help alleviate some of the tension and ensure that everyone's needs are met. Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister-in-law add my kids to the chore list? My sister-in-law lives in a fairly large 6-bedroom farmhouse on 10 acres. We are building a home across the street, and in the meantime, we have a camper parked in sister-in-law's property. The only time we go into her house is to use the bathroom or shower. We have electricity in the camper, but no running water. The rest of the time, we are across the street building, and our kids, 14 male, 12 female, 8 male, are with us helping. We pay sister-in-law $180 a week to park our camper there, which is campground prices. Late afternoon yesterday, my sister-in-law asked us to all come inside to talk, and she pulls up her chore list with my kids' names added to it. Things like laundry, dishes, cleaning the living room, sweeping, mopping, cleaning table and countertops, garbage, returnables, even helping cook meals. We do not eat with them, etc. She said, "Does this work for you?" I won't let anyone clean the bathroom because I'm the only one who does it properly. I immediately said no. The kids don't even go in our house unless they're showering or taking a dump. So, if anything, I'd make them clean the bathroom, not the rest of the house that they don't use. I'm not going to be making them do chores to that extent for simply using the bathroom, after they've been helping us all day with building our home. My sister-in-law, who works all the time, says, the kids aren't here much more than that because all my snacks are gone, and I always come home to a trashed house, and I didn't before you guys started staying here. She's clearly not putting two and two together, the fact that her own daughter, 12, has had consistent friends over the past 2 weeks since school let out, and her husband, 46 male, does nothing to parent, which I brought to her attention. The kids don't eat her food at all. I've made a point to preach to my kids about minimizing our footprint here for this specific reason. Her trying to blame my kids for their trashed house. My husband is saying that maybe I should just allow her to add the kids to 1 or 2 chores a week to keep his sister at bay, but I've refused. We pay to be here, and we do not go indoors at all unless it's for the bathroom, as I've stated. The kids are not going to be scrubbing our house top to bottom for using a restroom. And I have since told my husband we need to create an outhouse system on our property, so we don't have to go in there at all. He says I'm making things more difficult when, in reality, I'm protecting my kids from being used. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Try to get, as soon as possible, a porta potty or similar system in your own yard. Did you have water in your yard running? Invest some bucks to install your own bathroom temporarily. It'll be worth every cent. It'll give you freedom and peace. We don't have the bathroom up and running as of yet, but the plumbing is already completed. Our toilet, shower, sinks, and countertops are all due to be delivered on Thursday. Honestly, set up a porta potty or camping potty tent for peeing. Go ahead and set up an outdoor shower in your place. It'll come in handy in the future, especially if your kids are big into being outdoors and getting "you are hosing off before you step foot into my house" dirty, like mine are. My thinking is, if your husband thinks the chores should be done to placate his sister, he should be the one doing them. Yep, don't put that on the kids. It makes sense that the OP is concerned about their children being assigned extensive chores by their sister-in-law, especially considering that the kids are primarily using her property for essential needs, like using the bathroom and showering. While it's reasonable for the sister-in-law to express her concerns about the state of her house, it seems unfair to attribute all the issues solely to the OP's children, especially if they are not consuming her snacks or utilizing her space beyond necessary. OP should, again, communicate with their sister-in-law that their children are not responsible for the state of her house. The OP's suggestion of creating an outhouse system on their property to avoid using the sister-in-law's facilities altogether is a practical solution that would help minimize any potential conflicts and allow their family to maintain their own space and independence during this temporary arrangement. If avoiding the house entirely doesn't resolve the issue with the sister-in-law, I would suggest that the OP stay at a campground for the remainder of their house's building process, since the OP is already paying campground prices to the sister-in-law anyway. In the end, the OP needs to prioritize the well-being and comfort of their children, and the husband should be backing them up in this situation. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that no one cares about her child? My wife, Emily, gave birth to our lovely daughter 5 months ago, and she is just a joy. My niece, 10, Sophia, is a pretty successful child model. Since the age of 2, she's been on billboards, commercials, clothing advertisements, etc. She's done work for many well-known brands, and her career seems to blossom. My sister, Nina, is very proud, understandably, of her daughter. Every time Sophia books a gig, Nina immediately texts the entire family about her daughter. She'll subtly brag to us about how successful her daughter is, how she's paying for the water bill at 10 years, or how Sophia is the true star of the family. It can be annoying, but it's harmless for the most part. Since Emily and I gave birth, Nina has been making passive-aggressive comments about our daughter's looks. For example, when we shared a picture of our newborn daughter in the family group chat, Nina replied with, "Oh, she's beautiful, but not as pretty as my Sophia." Or when my mother made an offhand comment about how she already resembles my wife, Nina said, "Yeah, they share the same unique features." She was not saying unique in a kind way. These are only a few examples. For the most part, I've been able to brush these off. It's not worth something starting a big fight over. Nina and Sophia came over last weekend. Now, I've been a bit distant from Nina since I've had my daughter. Her comments about my daughter's appearance and passive-aggressive digs at my wife have not sat right with me. However, I thought to extend an olive branch, since she really wanted to see her daughter. We had a chocolate cake for dessert. Sophia told us that she couldn't eat it because her mother, Nina, said to her that chocolate and refined sugars will give her pimples. Emily reassured her that it was nothing to worry about, and Nina immediately interjected and said, "Oh, she does, 'cause look at you, Emily." I was stunned. However, Emily gave me a look that told me to drop it, so I did. I hope that was the only backhanded comment of the afternoon. Nina spent the entire lunch talking about Sophia. She kept saying that Sophia was destined to be a star from birth, or that Nina was the better grandchild. The entire afternoon was uncomfortable, with Nina bragging about Sophia's accomplishment, and Sophia and I awkwardly following along. Emily mentioned how our daughter is beginning to sit up. Nina cuts in saying how our daughter could easily book a role, but her downside is that she's just an ugly baby. When we looked at her shocked, she complained that her daughter looked much better at that age and was already primed to be a star. Maybe I was extremely sleep deprived, but I yelled at Nina that I couldn't care less about Sophia and I want to enjoy my meal in peace. Nina was offended and left in a hurry, after cursing my wife and my child out. Emily says that I probably shouldn't have said that in front of Sophia. Repost for clarity. Top comments. Everyone sucks here. Your sister is an absolute freaking monster, but saying that you couldn't care less about your niece in front of her is also absolutely insane adult behavior. It's poor judgment on your part to have let this go on so far that you snapped to the point of insulting a child in front of her. Your sister is absolutely the bigger a-hole, but that doesn't make your behavior okay. Not only that, but she bragged about using her child to pay for her water bill. Who profits off their child instead of setting up a trust for them for when they turn 18 and get to use their money that they earned, not the disgusting loser mother? Do you know the series iCarly? The teen star Jeanette McCurdy recently wrote the autobiographical book I'm Glad My Mom Died, which is about her getting exploited by her mother from the age of 6 up. Her mom paid all the bills with Jeanette's acting money, and the girl didn't get any of it because the mom didn't sign a certain thing that would have put part of the money into a fund. She also made her daughter develop an eating disorder, and she was anorexic and bulimic for many years. It's so common, and I'm really sorry and worried for Sophia because her mom is living through her and making her pay for the bills. Sophia will probably not see any of it and will even keep getting exploited. This stuff needs to stop, honestly. I hate seeing kids modeling or acting regularly. It's usually not healthy. I commented about the same book. Those poor child actors / models. Being pushed into that industry by attention-seeking parents should be considered a form of punishable abuse. Edit. And we all know the restriction on eating cake is not about pimples. It's obvious that the OP has reached a breaking point after enduring their sister's constant passive-aggressive comments about their daughter's appearance and her incessant bragging about her own child. However, the OP was completely in the wrong for making hurtful statements towards their niece. Aiming insults at their sister's child, in this scenario, makes the OP just as bad for using the child to get under the skin of their sister. The OP could have protected their wife and daughter from the sister's hurtful remarks without throwing their niece under the bus. It might be a good idea to have a private conversation with their sister, expressing how her comments have been affecting the OP and their family. Let the sister know that, while they're happy for Sophia's success, it's important to celebrate both children's achievements without diminishing one or the other, and that it's essential to create a positive and supportive environment for both children. The person I'm worried most about in this situation is Sophia. No 10-year-old should be responsible for paying any household bills, and it's clear that Sophia's mother is pushing toxic beauty standards onto her very young and impressionable child. The OP should do what they can to lift their niece up, so she knows that she has someone in her corner. The OP should focus on prioritizing their wife and daughter's emotional well-being and addressing the issue directly in order to find a resolution moving forward. Am I the a-hole for correcting my half-sister about my parentage and saying that my mom's husband isn't my dad? I, 17 male, am the kid of divorced parents. I live with my mom, her husband Steve, and their daughter, Molly, 5. My dad lives halfway across the country and is in no financial position to look after a kid, which is why my mom has full custody. In spite of that, my dad and I are really close. We have daily video calls and send each other cards and presents on holidays and birthdays. And if it was feasible, I would totally rather live with him. That is all to say, I don't need another father figure to take his place. Anyway, the other day, Molly referred to Steve as me and my name's Daddy, and I corrected her that he's her daddy, not mine. Molly looked dismayed and asked me what I meant and said, "Does that mean you're not my brother?" I explained to her that I have a different dad and that her dad is my mom's husband. That doesn't mean he's my dad. I reassured her that I'm still her brother and I love her and yada yada. Steve shot me a death glare and my mom just looked sad. Molly seemed to accept my answer and we carried on with what we were doing. Later, my mom took me aside and told me she was sad that I hadn't accepted Steve yet and called me petty and cruel for pushing your issues on a little kid. She said that, like it or not, Steve is her husband, so that makes him my father figure, and that I need to find room in my heart for both of your dads. I told her that Steve is not, and never will be, my dad, and told her that just because you hate my real dad doesn't mean I have to throw him away like you did. I was worried I would lose my temper even more than I already had, and left the situation to cool off. In the time since, Molly has been asking me incessant questions about my dad and why my mom left him. She slept with her gym buddy, but I'm not going to tell Molly that until she's older. For now, the story is that my mom just fell out of love with my dad. Steve has been avoiding me like the plague and being passive-aggressive when we have to interact. And my mom has been bugging me to apologize to him. She's also been trying to find excuses for me to skip my video calls with my dad, but I'm not going to ever do that. Still, I'm worried I may have opened a can of worms I won't be able to close. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. You're never the a-hole for wanting to maintain your biological parent in your life. And the other parent and or step-parent is always the a-hole for forcing false closeness of the relationship. The "my step-parent tries to force me to acknowledge them as mom/dad" genre is probably a solid 5% of Am I the A-hole posts. I don't know what the problem is with these dudes. If I ever became a stepdad, I'd just be like, treat me as an uncle. I'd be good with that. I'm like a fun aunt/old family friend to my stepkids. It suits all of us. I've never understood step-parents who push a relationship that the kids don't want. Totally agree with you. My stepkids call me Cookie, which I think is great. Neither their father nor I have forced any of the kids to do anything. Rather, they have all been allowed to take the lead in defining our relationship where I'm concerned. I love that. They know I'm not here to take the place of their birth mom, and I think it has made all of us closer. As for OP, my heart breaks for you, that you're being forced into your mom's vision of the relationship she wants you to have with your stepdad. It really makes me mad to see parents disrespecting their children by not encouraging their own children's relationships with the children's other birth parent just because the one parent has issues with the other parent. It's clear that the OP deeply cares about their relationship with their dad and has a strong bond with him despite the distance. And it makes sense that the OP corrected their younger sister because it's important to clarify family relationships. Still, it seems that the OP's mom and stepfather may have different expectations regarding their acceptance of him as a father figure. OP's parents need to remember that the OP's emotions and experiences are valid. While OP's mom may want them to embrace their stepfather, it's important for her to understand that OP's connection with their biological dad is separate and meaningful to them. It's not fair for her to ask the OP to replace or disregard that relationship. It might be helpful for the OP to have an open conversation with their mom to express their feelings and perspective, even if it means discussing difficult topics. The OP has to reiterate that their bond with their dad is a significant part of their life. Hopefully, the mom will put her own personal feelings aside and listen to what the OP has to say. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you agree with the verdicts down below. Also, consider checking out my other channel, *_Vingart, where I post my artwork, and my Etsy, StarVingartCompany, where I sell my art prints and stickers. Bye.